I know that was important, but you perform Gilbert and Sullivan?
I am the very model of a scientist Solarian. I've studied species Turian, Asari, and Batarian. I'm quite good at genetics as a subset of biology because I am an expert, which I know is a tautology. My xenoscience studies range from urban to agrarian. I am the very model of a scientist Solarian.
Hello, everybody. This isn't Dune. I wanted to fill some space because the Dune books are pretty long, even the prequel stuff, like 700 pages, where you can, with the Star Wars books, you got like 300 pages, usually at most, 400 at the most, usually. 300 is kind of the norm. But 300 to 700 is a big difference in trying to finish a book on time. So, I'm almost done with it at the time of this recording, but I just want to make sure that you have content. And it's, unfortunately not Star Wars content, and I apologize for that. But I'm hoping I can at least get you interested in this universe with this comic book due to the fact that it's written by John Jackson Miller, or at least he helped with the scripting of the comic. And this comic is called Mass Effect Evolution, which is a prequel comic, mostly, to the Mass Effect video game, because there's this organization, very human-centric, in the Mass Effect franchise, known as Cerberus, and the leader of that said group is the Elusive Man. And we don't know a lot about the Elusive Man outside of what, he talks about in the game, but that's what this comic's for. So, I don't have too much to say. I was a little disappointed, because I thought it would be pretty much set during the entirety of the First Contact War. But that's really only the first issue, and then the Elusive Man kind of passes out before he's the Elusive Man, and then time has passed since he was out, and now the war between, see, there's a whole bunch of things to mention there. First Contact War was, in the lore of the franchise, humanity found alien stuff on Mars once they dug a little deeper. And from there, they learned about the Mass Effect relays. And from the Mass Effect relays, they could travel into galaxies and spaces far from their solar system. Now, as they were learning about this technology and as they were doing their jumps through space, they came across the Turians, which is another alien race. Now, of course, they don't know how to speak each other's language. That took some time to learn, but it became a misunderstanding that became a large war. It wasn't very long. It was kind of short-lived, but it makes a lot of animosity between the Turians and the humans. But anyway, so that's the backdrop of that, but we only get to see a glimpse of that, really. But one of the things I love about this is a Dark Horse comic, which Dark Horse used to be super based, with Star Wars comics. And it's written by John Jackson Miller, Mac Walters, and the art is done by Omar Francia, or something like that. But yeah, we get to see the Elusive Man, who in this comic is known as Jack Harper. And throughout the comics, we get to see another character that plays a significant role. Let you read it to find out for yourself, in the first game specifically. And so getting to see more of him is fun. And this definitely doesn't feel like on caliber with like a... same thing with when I reviewed the BioWare Dragon Age Inquisition comic. These, technically the expanded universe, right, was like tie-in media to the movies, but it always felt like something more. Like the stories there were vastly, these were stories worthy of the name Star Wars, worthy of the movie franchise. These definitely feel more like, or at least this one, definitely felt more like, just, not that it doesn't have good stuff in there, but it definitely felt like, people like this franchise, let's make some money. Not, purely to tell a good story. I don't know a better way to describe it. It's just the EU was built different. There was something different about the EU as compared to other things, where you could really tell this was supposed to be canon to the time. Now, of course, these are also technically supposed to be canon to the video games and everything. But it's just a thing of, like, you could really feel that in the Star Wars Expanded Universe. You don't really feel that here. But yeah, overall, it was a decent little story. Without getting into spoilers, I do want to talk about some things. But if you are interested in Mass Effect, this is an interesting place to kind of get you in the mood for it. But it is a fantastic trilogy of video games. Definitely worth your time. And if you enjoy KOTOR 1 and 2, it's made by the same people. In fact, Drew Karpyshyn was a big writer on this game. So if you like the Bane trilogy and everything, I think you should go check out those games. But if you want something smaller, because of course those games can take up to like 30 hours, 20 hours, you know, and you want something that's not going to be as time investing to see if you're even interested in getting into the franchise, then this would be a good place to start, I think. It's, I mean, it does expect you to know certain things, but it could also intrigue you for the future. So I'll say that. It was fun. I guess I've been spoiled with the Star Wars Expanded Universe because it was nowhere near that level of quality, but it was still a lot of fun, and I think it's worth your time if you're interested or have already played the Mass Effect universe and you want to see a little bit more of it. That's pretty much it. Getting on to spoilers. If you don't want those, go on and move on, so I don't spoil you. We get to see Ashley's dad. Ashley is the main companion from the first game of Mass Effect, who you can romance if you so choose. Ashley Williams is one of the first companions you get. It's a human companion. We get to see her dad in this, which was really cool. Also, Jack has a friend named Brian, who dies at the end of the first issue. Issue 2, we get to see Saren, who, of course, for those who have played the game, he is the main antagonist of the first. I mean, there's a big main antagonist with the Reapers, but he is the main antagonist primarily of the first game. We also learn about Deathless in this comic, who is his brother. After the end of the first comic, we see that Jack, the elusive man, is now starting to have visions of the future. Issue 3, we get to see Palavan, which is the homeworld of the Turians, which we really didn't get to see. We heard about it, but we didn't get to see it until Mass Effect 3, so that was cool. And we get to see the Turian supremacy, because with Desolus, who is Saren's brother, we could see a lot of the Turian supremacy that was going on. And I think, if anything, this might have helped with Jack Harper's prejudice that would eventually lead to the Cerberus organization of being human-centered and human supremacist. Because of what Jack Harper witnesses in this series. But yeah, Desolus is very much about making the Turians the dominant force in the galaxy. In issue 4, with everything going on, Desolus is trying to make like these kind of like Reaper husk slaves. And by the end of issue 4, you know, the elusive man gets away, and Saren kills his brother, which I thought was really interesting for his character, because, you know, we only have the one game with him, and we don't get to see too much of him, and by then, he's starting to be controlled by the Reapers, and this is pre-that. This is just him being himself. So it was really interesting to see Saren in this state. There is a novel written by Drew Karpyshyn that I'll get to down the line, which involves a story, but more fleshed out. Yeah, Captain Anderson mentions in the first game about Saren and him, so that'll be interesting to explore. But here we get a little glimpse of what he's like, and it was really interesting. To see him have to kill his own brother was also really interesting to see. So, overall, it was not what I expected this comic to be, but it was a good time. I think it does a good job of showing Jack pre-Elusive Man, and without explicitly telling you, a good explanation for why he becomes what he becomes. But that's pretty much it, guys. A little bit of a shorter one. I'm sorry it isn't Star Wars or anything. I just wanted something that ties you over, you know? But I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, guys, may the Force be with you. Wait a second. This isn't Star Wars. May the Bionics, who are basically Jedi with their psychic powers, not kill you in your sleep like Jack with all of her tattoos and her bald head. Until Mass Effect 3 where she has hair. Anyway, don't piss off biotics, okay? They'll frick you up. Alright? Am I clear? Thank you. Alright. Goodbye. See you next time.